Hi, Sean Massey here. And I've been noticing a lot that in the wake of really difficult situations, some of which we've had with the political environment of late, I was able to keep myself from going down the really big rabbit hole, as some people have done, by using the really simple concepts that my clients and I have all come to understand. And I started realizing, wow, there are a lot of people out there that don't know these concepts. One of them is about the one thought behind all emotional pain, and the fourth, toxic thought traps, that once you know how to spot them, you're going to be able to dial back those big emotional reactions. So it became really important to me to make sure I get that information out there and to just gift to you a new book we have. It's right now in the form of a digital flip book and a PDF, maybe published in paper later. But I wanted to share with you the book, Escape the Sorry. Escape the prison of your thoughts, the cost of believing the one thought behind all emotional pain and its four toxic traps. So we're just going to go through this really quickly because I'd like you to have the book for yourself. But just the concept of that one thought, for the longest time, people would tell me, oh, just let it go or take it easy, or and I didn't know how to stop the big emotional reactions that were going on in me, which I understood always had to do with something outside me. And over time, I learned to be able to turn those thoughts around and started teaching my work and the work of Byron Katie to others. And I started to see there really was just one major basic thought behind all emotional pain. And then I could break it down into pretty much four ways that that thought might manifest. So that once you cross a line and you're believing any one of those thoughts or all of them, you've put yourself into a prison and you're going to be off and running in emotional pain of some kind. So stopping them becomes a kind of thought abstinence. So understanding this one thought and its four toxic traps can really change your life. So, looking at that one thought behind all emotional pain, I realized it is something to the effect of this should be different than it is. And then our minds, which are really wired for survival, take that and make it into something dire, something about I won't survive unless, kind of a condition. And it sounds like I need this to be blank. In order to be happy, safe, free, I need this to be different than it is. I need you. I need me. I need the weather. I need the political situation. I need something to be different than it is. And it focuses on worst possible outcomes or most negative interpretations. And in doing that, we abandon ourselves and lives, and we create a prison of mind-made separation from this grand unfolding reality, manifesting as fear, intense reactivity, or a hopeless quest to control what is out of our hands. So just keep an eye on that. Anytime you're hurting, start to say, wait a minute. Where am I believing that this reality I have should be different than it is? And I want to make sure you understand too, the one thought can be projected onto the past. This should have been different than it was. And if it's aimed at you, that's regret, self-criticism. If it's aimed at someone else, it just makes it feel like, oh, my childhood was all wrong. It should have been. It doesn't take away that there might have been painful, but that argument with reality, rather than to say, okay, it was what it was, it is what it is, it will be what it will be. So that's the future. Yeah, you will be fear that you will be out there wishing things are different than they are, and you see yourself suffering. That's the future version of that one thought. Once you know how to catch yourself in those, you come out of the prison. And then the fourth thought, which is the a lot of suffering and just be with the reality as it is and look for the lessons in that, the gifts in that, the way your pain is more about resisting the reality than the reality itself. So just to move on then to one of the other thought traps, which altogether spell the word cost, C-O-S-T, is comparison or competition. And that creates a can't. I can't do it well enough because blank. It should be like this. Again, I should be different than it is, comparing who you are and how you show up to the reality that really is here. In competition, comparing yourself or competing with others, meaning I can't do it as well as them. It needs to be different. In some ways, we are in the business of too much and not enough. I should have done that. Why can't I do this the way someone else does? And we end up seeing that that is really the business of life, the business of God. But we'll get to that in a later one too. We truly are in prison when we engage in comparison or compete in ways that put others' worth above or below us, since there will always be aspects of ourselves that will fall outside the standard for comparison that our mind comes up with. So even when we achieve or become it with this mindset, if you're not able to catch yourself, the mind will always create new standards. Most of us would cringe to hear someone telling a child that they aren't lovable or good enough because they aren't as tall as another child or can't read as well, but it's what we do to ourselves. And we do it to those closest to us as well, especially spouses. Okay, then this one is really kind of a fascinating one. It's about the concept of being in another's business or in life's or God's business, in the business of how things show up. And in doing that, we also try to become a fixer of life, of others, of um, how things unfold. So this one has the first part of it is that we run our lives from over there. We see ourselves through others' eyes. We're over in their business, believing that telling almost our littlest, most vulnerable parts, we won't be okay until they see us a certain way. So we're trying to control others so that we feel safe, loved, or whole. And then the second part is the need to control outcomes or set up safety by way of others and like making it okay for them, becoming a self-sacrificing fixer. Either way, we abandon ourselves in the business of what others say, think, do, or feel. Almost like there's an invisible cord, and we're running our lives from this conditional, codependent feedback loop that says, I desperately need him to hold me, or I won't be okay until it stops raining. I need my aging mother to stop being so negative, that kind of thing. So it's just setting it up so that others and life, everything comes back to that. And when we come back to our own business and leave the business of how others show up and how life shows up to others and to God or life, then we find that we're mostly okay. And when we do catch ourselves in these states, we will pretty much find we're not okay. So the other one is the S's. It's both, it starts with S, but it's both shame and blame, the different sides of the same coin. And this is about judgment of self or actions, judgment of others and life. Something is wrong with me. I should have done it differently. And this is regret, guilt, self-doubt. Something is wrong with them, like a flat out judgment. I know the way it should be, and you're not doing it. So we quickly turn on ourselves or others in shame or blame, feeling like a victim of circumstances or of others' behavior or of our own inner critic. So whether it's feeling alienated from those we love or turning on ourselves in regret and self-criticism, the two sides of this blame shame trap are entrenched in society as a problem-solving paradigm, but it only makes things worse. And finally, concepts about time is the fourth one, the T of the COSTs. This is a fascinating one that whenever we are in the business of the future, we're going to experience fear. So I like to say that future equals fear, and that mind-made conditions on the future are the only thing that really create worry, anxiety, lack, and a need to control, even if that future is 2 minutes from now. And that doesn't mean that there is not healthy fear that creates action and warns you about something you need to do. But the kind of fear that really can't know that something bad is going to happen and doesn't result in action, but just kind of spins around and creates anxiety or worry. So the F's is about future creating fear. Anytime you're in fear, you can almost ask yourself, have I gone out into the future? Am I seeing images, that mind-made movie of something going wrong? And the past is powerlessness because we keep going back into regret or resentment, wishing someone had been different, wishing we had been different, but we are completely powerless. I ran my life out of that should have story, and there is no such thing as should have. There's only what showed up. And so it's really helpful to realize how powerless we are when we get involved in the thoughts of the past and wishing things had been different. And then if we apply these conditions on the here and now, that this should be different than it is, it creates kind of a big no, a no to life, a no to reality as it's showing up. It is creating resistance or separation from the present moment. So just catching ourselves in that one thought in the present helps us say, wait a minute, how am I resisting the reality? How am I not open to what gifts might be in this moment, no matter how painful it is? And now that we know, using the symmetry principle, how to use whatever upsets us as a direct path to peace, then it's exciting in a way to catch yourself resisting reality and get that thought on paper and turn it around. So just when you put them all together, you've created this big little, prison of your thoughts. And it's really helpful in this book if you can find a triggering situation, what's going on, and isolate it, one thought or belief. You can print this, you can take this and write it out on another piece of paper and write out the thought or belief you're having, and then see which of the thought traps apply and how. Is it a comparison or competition thought? Are you in others or God's business? Are you shaming or blaming yourself or someone else? Are you caught up in trying to legislate time? And just maybe you're involved in only one of those. Maybe there's two. Maybe you've got all four of them going in a really painful situation. And so once you've done that, then you can come over to the second column and write down the cost to yourself. Okay, when I'm believing that, when I'm getting into comparison and competition, what happens? What is the cost to me? What is the cost to others of believing that thought? So it really starts to help you um, you know, the motive that our mind is almost always creating this kind of thinking because it believes it's helping us. It's trying to save us. It's driven by survival. It says if I take you to worst case scenario and you focus on that, then everything will be fine. But it isn't that way. It just creates suffering in the here and now. So the more that you let the conscious mind witness those reactions and those costs of each of these types of thoughts, the easier it is to catch yourselves in them. So I hope you've found that helpful. And also, if you find a stressful thought that doesn't fit with these, that's fine. Just make it one of your own or reach out to me and share with me what you've got. It's really helpful. If you want to go further with this, we've got the 5-day thought detox, and it is an incredible challenge. We've made our live challenge, which we do annually, into a digital course with live support. And those of you who download this book will be able to get this course for a quarter of the usual price for the first 24 hours. So I really invite you to take action on that. And I want to thank you. Thanks for the more we all clean up our own toxic thinking, the more peaceful this planet will be, and you become a role model for others who don't know what to do with these types of thoughts. As you catch yourself in them, you will be able to create win-win outcomes for this planet. Thanks so much. If you want to download the book, we'll send out a link below where you can go get it.